Hey everybody, I'm making this vlog because I saw this video that was entitled "Why Did the Raiders Abandon Oakland?" And whoever made the video got the whole thing wrong. They really did. What they did was they said that the reason the Raiders left Oakland was because the city of Oakland didn't have enough money to give the Raiders what they wanted. And that wasn't the case. They said that twice. They said that with respect to the Raiders' move to Los Angeles in 1980. And then they said it again with respect to the Raiders' move to Las Vegas. And of course, that was in 2000, was approved in 2016. And then the, I'm sorry, it was approved in 2017 by the National Football League. And then, of course, as you know, it didn't actually take place until 2020, the pandemic year. But let me take the first example. The Raiders didn't move because the city of Oakland didn't have the money. The Raiders left because then Oakland Mayor Lionel Williams was under the belief that the Raiders were not going to go anywhere, in spite of Al Davis then looked upon his claims that he was going to leave because the city and the county, the owners of the Coliseum, were not providing him with luxury boxes as well as an avenue to pay per view, which is, as you know now, called cable and streaming. So Al basically went against not just the city of Oakland, but the National Football League, because then Commissioner Pete Rozelle was on the side of the home team, home city, excuse me, that's the city of Oakland, and the ownership was not going to grant and did not grant Al the right to move. But guess what he did? He moved anyway and sued the National Football League. They both sued each other. The city of Oakland was a party to that lawsuit, and the city claimed, thank you very much. The city of Oakland claimed, all right, it says, then my brother Carr and Dennis Allen have ruined my Saints. Yes, they have. I'll get to that in a second. I just want to get this off my chest and I'll talk about that. Thank you for the two bomb, as they say, very much. But bottom line, the simple fact of the matter is that the Raiders called the city of Oakland's bluff. That's what happened. They wanted 79 luxury boxes, which, if you think about it, isn't a lot. And then in the LA Coliseum, the makers of the video, Why Did the Raiders Abandon Oakland, reported that the reason why Al Davis took the Raiders out of Los Angeles was because they weren't winning. That was only part of the reason. The reason he took them out was because the LA County Coliseum Commission reneged on a promise to build luxury boxes and reneged on a promise to implement a pay-per-view revenue strategy so that the Raiders can gain money from that source, what we now call cable and streaming. So basically, if you want to say, then you're telling me that Al Davis just basically doesn't like to be lied to, I would say that's the gist of it. He felt that he was being sandbagged first by the city of Oakland, who thought they're not going to leave, and then by the LA County Coliseum, who believed that they had no course to get what they were demanding. And by the way, where are they going to go? So Al Davis thought, you know what, I'll show you. I'll go back to Oakland. And it wasn't an empty promise, because the city of Oakland dearly wanted the Raiders back. Losing the Raiders the first time was like losing your leg. That was really how it was regarded in Oakland. That, and a part of the very appendage of the city was gone. And so first we tried to get them back by having a replacement, the Invaders. Now think about what I'm saying to you in the context of the new teams that have risen up, like, for example, the Oakland Roots and the Oakland Ballers, and in this overall idea, in the Oakland Soul, and this overall idea that they can replace the Raiders, the A's, and the Warriors. Well, back in the 80s, we had the Oakland Invaders and USFL, and that's essentially how that team was pitched. And it did a really credible job of providing some relief, but not an entire full cash of relief for the loss of the Raiders. And we know how the XFL, excuse me, not the XFL. We all know how the USFL turned out. But everyone wanted the Raiders back in Oakland. That was the focus. And the city took a laser-like gaze toward the objective of getting just that done. The original proposal was valued at $853 million, which was too rich for the city of Oakland. I don't know of any time in the city's history that it has spent anything close to that much money on any endeavor involving the private sector, ever. Keep that in mind when you are asked, why are sports teams leaving Oakland? It's because the city of Oakland does not invest in having sports teams. That's why. It wants a private organization to do it. It's under the idea that you have to have a rich person to do it, as opposed to having a proper marriage of private wealth and public financing mechanisms to get the job done. Other cities get that. Cities back east, Las Vegas, but back where we are, even in the Bay Area, where you would say, hey, San Francisco got it, Oakland didn't get the memo. And it's because Oakland is so heavily political that normal, logical, regular approaches to public financing with respect to sports, which is the linchpin attention getter for a politician, go out the window. And the politician wants to impose his or her idea and forget everything else. That is the problem. We have always been way too political, and we haven't been professional enough. Now, there have been shining graces to belie my statement. The city successfully rebuilt the Oakland Coliseum Arena for the Golden State Warriors in 1998. And as my friend and former boss, Oakland Mayor Elihu Harris, is fond of pointing out, those bonds did not have a revenue problem. Those bonds were successfully paid for the most part. We didn't have a Raiders problem. And no one talks about that. And he's right. But also the city of Oakland doesn't do a good enough job of talking about its successes in that area, okay? It just doesn't. So the reason why sports left Oakland is because the politicians insist on having too much of a say, too much of a look, and that is what has happened in the case of Lionel Wilson, and later in the case of the city in Las Vegas not getting it. But the reason why it's hastened in terms of the pace of these teams leaving, or our teams leaving, is because we have a strong mayor form of government. And that means that the mayor's in charge. It means it's overly political, more so than the council manager form of government we had that really engineered a Warriors deal that worked and a Raiders deal that looked like it was going to work, except we didn't do the proper marketing. Now let me get to some of your comments here, or your comments, all right? Barcher says, Zen, my brother, Carr and Dennis Allen have ruined my Saints. I'm going to come back to that. Formerly Mag Prime. He says, John Collin, do you think if Oakland had a better mayor, that might have made a difference in keeping the Warriors, Raiders, and Aces? Yeah, I think not just a better mayor, but I think if we had a solid economic development program that was maintained with redevelopment and with the tools, thank you very much for Sir Chai, thank you, and with the tools necessary to get the $400 million that Mark Davis needed, or for for the facility he wanted to build, and a solid business retention and attraction program that included a board of directors that it consisted of Oakland businesses. We don't even have that now. All right, we don't have that now. How else are you going to get businesses together to lobby other businesses to stay in your town? The Chamber of Commerce doesn't do it. It should do it. But really, you need a directed gun, if you will, a social gun of businesses that's willing to make the phone calls, the emails, the texts, willing to sell the city, willing to say, hey, look, this is our city, willing to invest in the city. You need somebody like a Dan Gilbert, and what Dan Gilbert has done for both Cleveland and Detroit. You need somebody that is all around the country. If you look at the revitalizations of cities, it always includes well-moneyed business people and corporations. That is inescapable. Now, for those who would say, Zinni, you're talking about trickle-down economics. I'm not. Trickle-down is where the wealth is invested, but along the way, maybe someone happens to get work who is, let's say, minority or women because of someone they know. In other words, it's not intentional. It's accidental because of personal relationships that person has. That's trickle down. No, I'm talking about programs that, of course, identify minority contractors, evaluate their ability to do a business or job, rather, and get them that work. These are things we used to do in Oakland. We stopped doing them, folks. All right? We stopped doing them. All right? Kev F says, San Francisco Giants and Chase Center Warriors didn't use public financing. Actually, they did. Okay? And that's a myth. And it's a good idea, Kev, to really study the Warriors situation, because when you look at Muni, you think the rehabilitation of Muni around there and that siting of that station and the grounds around it and how it mates with Chase Center wasn't all part of that deal? Of course it was. I can tell you it was firsthand, all right? The whole transportation corridor issue, that was city spent to make sure that deal worked. Never discount that. That's all part of the deal. So that's all part of the deal, 100%. But did the Warriors also receive additional assistance regarding parts of the grounds going out? Yes, they did. Was it a lot? No, it wasn't. And not only that, you have to gain approval from a city to build something. Just because the private sector is spending the money doesn't mean that they get to, pour sprinkle dust on the city council or the board of supervisors and make them, do a vote. That's not how it happens. That's why we have something called community benefits agreements. How much you're going to spend for affordable housing? How much you're going to spend for business assistance for small business? All that's part of the package. All of it. Hey, Warriors, are you going to have any kind of provision where businesses like mine would have a chance of getting an operation in Chase Center? Of course they do. That's all part of the deal, Kev. All right? That is all part of the deal. So when you say there's no public financing involved, that's a standard, traditional newspaper dumbing down point of view from some of the same people that said, when they would interview me or when they would have me on their radio shows in the past, well, Zinni, you say things that are really complicated and people don't understand them. my retort was always, people are much smarter than you think, and I do not talk down to anyone. So that, what you're saying, is where that comes from, because none of these people bother to look deeply at how these deals work, and they are deals. They're literally one-offs using different financial tools, hybrids. They're one-offs, and so it's beautiful to learn what they are, to find out the real truth about how these deals get done. Okay. And so, let me see here. So Chai says, Zibby should have said Soul Coliseum land in the NFL. She should have. Absolutely. That was a huge error. Absolutely. Absolutely. Huge error. Okay. I agree. Huge error. So Chai says, mark my words, Zinny62, Oakland media will eventually turn on the Ballers ownership and demand they pay for a new stadium in Oakland instead of a public-private partnership. And that will happen. But really what should happen is the city should invest in the Ballers. This is, and again, it's a political situation. It doesn't have to be. Now, am I saying the Ballers aren't a good idea? No. Am I saying that they are not good for the city? No, they are. But I'm saying the city has to stop this half-assing. And if you're going to get behind something from a whole neighborhood plan, from a multi-year plan with multi-financing, establish tax increment financing so you can get the affordable housing built, all right? Don't have the situation pointing at one little thing over there and then have a system where you can give people money to be able to afford the rents and mortgages there so that they are not literally pushed out of West Oakland. All right. That's not happening at all. They just let the Ballers happen. And what was it used for? Political cover. Hey, here's what we're doing. The Ballers, I don't care what anyone says, are not the A's. Are they drawing crowds better than the A's many times? Yeah. Okay, but that's not the point. Are they getting TV eyeballs on the Oakland enough to replace the Oakland A's? And the answer is no. They're not Major League Baseball. It's better to have the Ballers and Major League Baseball. It's better for Oakland to be greedy. There are 220 sports events to go after annually. Oakland needs a sports commission to do just that, not rest on its laurels and think, hey, we've got it. We've got one team. One team? Give me a break. You want a lot of teams. Why? The more teams, the more employment, the more economic development, the more eyeballs, because these organizations are on command streaming and TV that are focused on Oakland, which means what? Marketing, which means what? More corporations wanting to come to Oakland, which means what? Greater civic pride, which means what? Greater foot traffic, which means what? Lower crime where the foot traffic occurs. All this works systemically, all right? All this works systemically. We forgot that. Just forgot it, okay? Yes, I agree Carr and Saints are not a fit, but Gruden ruined Carr. I don't think Gruden ruined Carr. I think, all right, look, Derek Carr is undoubtedly and has undoubtedly been a great quarterback for the Oakland Raiders and for the Las Vegas Raiders. He also undoubtedly got the shaft. But I felt that Derek, I'll just say it, okay? I think the one mistake that happened in the upbringing of Derek Carr through the NFL was that the Raiders handed him the keys to the kingdom and they didn't make him really work for it. And someone would say, what do you mean? He had a competition, against Matt McGloin. I disagree with you. That competition was fixed in his favor. I said it back then. A lot of you got mad at me, but I still hold that to this day. All right. I really do. So what kind of Derek Carr did it produce? It produced the kind of Derek Carr that went to the Saints thinking he was, hey, this is my throne. Jameis Winston, you shouldn't be here. You're nice and all that, but I'm tolerating you, because he would act like he was tolerating Jameis, presence. And look, Jameis Winston is a better quarterback than Derek Carr. All right, Derek Carr has been given so many chances. It is sick. It really is, and that's a fact. Jameis Winston wasn't given those chances, even when the Bucks put him in a starter. They put him in an offense which caused it's called for him to throw deep, not ball control. They didn't give him the best running back they could when they could have had Dalvin Cook, his Florida State teammate, with the Bucks. All right. So I don't want to hear it. Now, what did it produce in terms of a car? It produced a guy who yells at his receivers, who acts like an oaf, who yells at his offensive linemen. Okay. Now, this year, this Derek Carr this time has the opportunity to prove that he is, dare I say, grown up. And I'm watching with eyeballs to see if this man grows up. Okay? All right? And God bless him, because I know he's Christian, that he actually finds his center, recenters himself spiritually, and gets back on track. And maybe he has by now. We'll see. We'll see. Because he's got Spencer Rattler literally rattling behind him like, hey, buddy, I'm rare, I'm new, and I can throw better than you. Okay? All right? Kev F says, going from 3 historic pro sports franchises to 0 is sickening. Right on. And he says, independent baseball and soccer isn't comparable. Bravo, Kev F. Absolute. Vegas Mark, how you doing? Vegas Mark says, look at this past Sunday with USC and versus LSU game. Congratulations, USC. More eyes on Vegas. They could have been Oakland back in the old days. Heck, they could have been Oakland today. All right? What if Mark Davis had decided that he was going to give the city of Oakland all the runway it needed to get a deal done rather than get mesmerized by the $750 million that Sheldon Adelson was waving in his face? That's hard to ignore. Okay? When someone comes in and says, you know what, I'm going to get $750 million for you, and he did, it's nothing to sneeze at. And let's be clear. That wasn't Adelson's money. Sheldon Adelson literally strong-armed the state of Nevada into arranging for Mark Davis to get that kind of deal. That's what he did. All right? That's what he did. And here's the other thing that's consistently forgotten. Why did he do it? Why did Mr. Adelson, rest in peace, do it? Because he hated that public money, he said this, was going to the Las Vegas Convention Center, competing against his private, what was once called Sands Expo. Now it's changed its name, okay? All right? That's why. He was a staunch conservative who believed in private financing, who didn't like public financing, unless, of course, it benefited him, going to a competing facility. And he was openly pissed off, never stopped talking about it, and literally made it a jihad, a holy war. And so he saw in Mark Davis needing a home for the Raiders a perfect opportunity to launch the latest version, the latest weapon in his jihad. And that's what he did. It was virtuoso. It was virtuoso. And it left the city, Oakland, and Libby saying, hey, look, with Fortress and my friend Drew McKnight, Fortress Investments, okay? I said, look, I said, you have a plan here. Stick with it. Well, we figured out a way to give them $750 million. This was like a month, a dang on month before the NFL was about to vote on it at the 2017 May 26th meeting in Arizona at the Biltmore, all right, that I was at, and you can watch here at Zenny62 on YouTube, okay? And I said to Drew, Drew, why do you want to look like you're a cheap salesman? You got here, I got my trench coat. I got your deal here. I got your deal here. I can give you anything you want. Well, don't give me anything I want. What are you saying to me? How are you going to finance the stadium? Stick to it. Don't be like this deal guy where I can't trust you. I told him that. Did he listen? No. Okay? Not at all. They were grasping for straws. And it basically hammered Oakland down to act like the city that Eric Grubman, remember Eric Grubman, who was the NFL's point person for relocation? They said they were acting like a city that didn't have a plan for the Raiders and was just reacting. What better way to show you're reacting than to, at the last minute, come with all these different types of, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. That's reacting. Eric was right. Did the city learn anything? No. Did Libby do a debrief? No. Did Shane come in and say, look, I'm going to debrief? No. No one's done anything to take a hard look at why we lost our sports organizations. And they don't want to, because ultimately it winds up with them getting criticized. And rather than say, you know what, we're not going to do that again, they can't handle it. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, okay? Absolutely ridiculous. All right. I've said my piece, and it felt good. Oh boy. Hey, like and subscribe. Please like this. And hey, got another $2 you want to contribute to the till? Please. All right. Hey, 200, even better. All right. I'm coming back, folks. This is the season of Zenny62 on YouTube, coming back, talking about the Raiders in the league. I'm feeling better. I got my oaths. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say this. I'm back. All right. Subscribe to Zenny62 if you haven't done so before. If you have ideas for, topics you want me to cover, comment below or send me an email, or hey, send me a text. I don't mind. 510, right here, 517 7565. Right there. All right. There it is. That's it. All right. Oh, live long and prosper, everybody. Thank you, Carlos. God bless you all. See ya.